Welcome back, gardeners. Lindsay here with the Mindful Living Movement, and I want to talk about low tunnels, but specifically ways that you can use them maybe a little bit more non-traditionally to help you with your spring start to your garden. So low tunnels are one of those tools that you can use to grow almost 2 months longer in your season locally, maybe even longer than that depending on what growing zone you're in, but I know that I can gain about 2 months, sometimes more, depending on how kind the spring and fall weather is. And what they do is it sort of helps to hold in a little bit of the warmth at nighttime. I find that within mine, I gain about 3 to 5 degrees at night from the temperature inside my low tunnel versus what the temperature outside is. And that's because of the earth itself and the thermal mass from the sun warming it up. When I close it up at night, it sort of radiates that back. And 3 to 5 degrees is actually quite a big difference when you're talking potentially freezing your vegetables or not, or even just keeping plants in that sort of safe, happy zone versus dropping down a little bit too cold. So that really makes a huge difference, particularly in my very short cold growing zone. And as you can probably see, I've got spinach, I've got broccoli, kale, I've got peas, I've got a bunch of cold season plants currently going in this. However, I'm right at the cusp here of pulling this off. Probably within the next week, I'm going to be removing this. But in the meantime, as you notice, I've got it wide open here. It's not doing anything for my cold season plants. They don't need any extra help right now. We're actually had a really beautiful day out today. And what I'm doing is I'm actually, I've brought this is a whole tray of the cucumber bits. So we've got pumpkins, we've got cucumber squash, a bunch of stuff happening there. I've got some sunflowers here. And over in my other low tunnel, I have my sort of like peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, all those guys. I'm actually using my low tunnel to help give a little bit of a nicer climate on kind of slightly cooler days than today. It's sort of like an extra little bonus greenhouse. So today I've got everything peeled wide open because it's really nice and beautiful and warm, and I don't need any extra help for either of these guys. But on days where I'm hovering maybe around that like 10 degrees Celsius type of a temperature outside, I can still have my cold season or my warm season stuff, pardon me, these guys that don't really like those cooler temps, I can actually still have them outside and have my low tunnel maybe closed about like 3/4 of the way, because when the sun hits the low tunnel and it's like mostly closed, it really brings up the temperature quite a bit. Sometimes almost too much and I have to open it, or sometimes if the sun goes away, I have to close it a little bit more. You do need to kind of pay attention and use a little thermometer so you actually know where you're at. But the beauty is that I've had these guys outside for weeks now, and on those days that are still a little bit maybe not the ones that these would normally be happy, my low tunnel is actually helping me keep them happy. So I don't have to keep moving them in and out of my greenhouse. I don't have to keep moving them in and out of my house and bringing bugs back into the house, or whatever it is. I can literally just leave them sitting here and water them with everything else, which is pretty sweet. And so I know now that these are well hardened off, and by the time I do finally remove this and actually stick them in the ground, they're ready to go because they've been outside, they've been watered with my well water instead of inside that, my tap water that has chlorine. They're accustomed to wind, they're accustomed to sun, and I've helped them a little bit through those maybe slightly cooler nights and days just by being able to have them in here. So if you are considering getting into season extension in the form of using a low tunnel, I would highly, highly recommend it. It is not hard, but it is something you just do need to pay attention to. Really get yourself a thermometer, keep that thermometer inside so you can see the effect of day and night temperatures. You can see what happens on a sunny day when you have it closed, what your temperature does. You do need to watch and know, but the nice thing, particularly if you buy like something really sturdy like electrical conduit to build your tunnel with, on the windiest, craziest days, I know that I can peel this thing open 3/4 of the way, half the way, whatever it is. I know it's actually going to stay. I really, really love this low tunnel for that reason. I trust it. It's been through some pretty crazy weather. It can downpour, and the weight of the water sitting on the plastic doesn't cause the whole deal to collapse, which is also amazing. So it's definitely my favorite one. If you can, put a little bit of money, buy yourself a really good quality one that's going to withstand some of those really aggressive weather. This thing's even been through snow and it didn't even phase it, you know, having a bunch of snow sitting on top. So yeah, if you have any questions about growing in low tunnels, I'm definitely going to be making more videos as I use them for more and more things, because I'm just absolutely falling in love with them. This is my, my third season now that I've had the chance to explore them both spring and fall. And we are technically only just kind of hitting our last frost, but I've had plants out here for weeks under cover, and it really affords me that chance to stretch out my spring, which is really what this series of videos is about. And if you haven't had the chance to check out, I'll link it up here and also down in the comments, my 9 essential spring garden prep tips. If you haven't checked it out, definitely. I go through all of them beginning to end in order of how I sort of bring my garden to life in the springtime, and all of it pretty much is done well before our last expected frost date, so that when things are ready to go in the ground, I'm not scrambling and doing a million other things. I just get to planting, and I can do it comfortably here and there when the weather is nice, and the rest of the time I'm not feeling rushed like I have to be actioning things if the weather is really bad, or, you know, whatever the reason is that I may not want to plant that day. So if that helped you out, please hit that like button, and if you are keen to keep learning more gardening tips, subscribe to the channel, even head to my blog, link also in description, and subscribe to my weekly newsletter, because you do get first crack at lots of new tips, tricks, videos, courses, discounts, all that good stuff if you are on my weekly newsletter. I hope you have an amazing start to your spring, gardeners, and we will see you soon.